What if I told you Volkswagen's humble Beetle had a glamorous Italian makeover, and it lasted almost 20 years? Ladies and gentlemen, and my friend Timmy, you ever see a car so beautiful you forgive it for being slow? You ever see a car that looks like it should be fast, like lipstick on the mirror, jumpsuit unzipped kind of fast, but then you floor it and the engine coughs like a pensioner running a 5-kilometer in flip-flops? Well, welcome to the Volkswagen Karmann Ghia Type 14, the car that whispered, "I'm sexy," and then wheezed, "But I need a nap." Before we dive into this curvy paradox, big shout out to our generous channel sponsors. Without you, we'd be forced to film this on Timmy's old Nokia and edit it with scissors. You help keep the lights on and the sarcasm flowing. Thank you. So how did this happen? It's 1952. Germany's rebuilding. People want hope, style, and something flashier than a loaf of rye bread on wheels. Volkswagen's Beetle is selling like bratwurst at Oktoberfest. Karmann, the German coach builder in Osnabrück, approaches Volkswagen with the idea of a sporty coupe. Volkswagen yawns politely. Then Karmann calls in Ghia, the Italian design house. And boom! Luigi Segre and Felice Mario Boano wave their pasta-powered pencils, and suddenly the Beetle has curves that could cause traffic accidents. In 1953, they dropped the prototype on Volkswagen's desk in Wolfsburg, and Volkswagen went, "Ja! We likey." The first prototype was based on Beetle underpinnings, but the body? Pure Italian sculpture. Handcrafted panels, welded with overlapping seams and smoothed with lead, yes lead, like a 1950s body shop version of Botox. The first model debuted in July 1955, and sales kicked off during Germany's post-war economic miracle. The goal? A 2+2 coupe for people who wanted something fancier than a Beetle but weren't quite ready for a Porsche. It wasn't fast, but it looked like it wanted to be. Kind of like Timmy when he buys gym shoes. All show, no cardio. Over 441,000 of these curvaceous cruisers were built between 1955 and 1974. Most were coupe, with about 79,000 being cabriolets. Brazil even got in on the action in 1962, because apparently even samba needs style. What's under that gorgeous hood? Oh, you mean behind the car, because surprise, the engine's in the back. The early models came with a 1,192cc, 72.7 cubic inch, air-cooled flat-4 engine, producing around 30 to 34 horsepower, 22 to 25 kilowatts. Rear engine, rear-wheel drive, with a 4-speed manual transmission. From 1961, you could also order a Saxomat semi-automatic, because apparently shifting gears manually was too aggressive for such a glamorous turtle. Early models had kingpin front suspension with torsion bars and swing axle rear setups. By 1965, they upgraded the front to ball joints and eventually moved to independent rear suspension in 1967. Braking? Originally drum brakes all around, but they finally gave in to logic and added front disc brakes in the late 1960s. Wheels were 15 inches. Steelies, originally with 5 lugs, then 4 after 1967, probably to match the number of angry letters from mechanics who had to service them. The body measured about 13 feet 7 inches, long 414 centimeters, 5 feet 4 inches wide, 163 centimeters, and stood just 4 feet 4 inches tall, 133 centimeters. Wheelbase was 7 feet 10 inches, 240 centimeters. Curb weight, somewhere between 1,720 and 1,800 pounds, 780 to 820 kilograms, depending on options or how much schnitzel the owner ate. The fastest models, with the 1,584cc, engine introduced in 1969, squeezed out 54 to 61 horsepower, giving you a top speed of about 75 to 77 miles per hour, 120 kilometers per hour. Fuel economy hovered around 32 miles per gallon, 7.3 liters per 100 kilometers, though that dropped significantly if you turned on the heater or blinked too aggressively. So what made this thing special? Simple. The body. Unlike most cars, the Karmann Ghia's steel panels were hand-fitted, lead-filled, and polished smoother than a politician dodging questions. It looked monolithic, The kind of design that whispered, "I belong in Monaco," but lived in Mom's garage in Milwaukee. The cabriolet featured a removable soft top with a plastic rear window, later upgraded to glass in 1972, just in time for Timmy to shatter it trying to sneak in with a surfboard. Magazines in the 1950s called it a parody of a fast car, which is rich considering Timmy once called his fishing kayak a speedboat. At least the Karmann Ghia didn't flip over when you looked at it funny. Some folks still call the early versions lowlights for their sexy low-mounted headlights. Those 1955 to 1959 cars, much more collectible today. And convertible versions with glass rear windows after 1972. That's like collector catnip. Now, let's talk money. When it launched in 1955, the Karmann Ghia cost around 7,500 Deutsche Marks, roughly $25,000 in today's money. The cabriolet version from 1957 ran about 8,250 Deutsche Marks, around $27,000. Prices dipped to around 6,935 Deutsche Marks in the early 1960s. So yes, it cost more than a Beetle, but less than your pride after getting overtaken by a Vespa. Fast forward to now. The most expensive recorded auction price was a drop-dead gorgeous 1959 convertible that sold for $123,200 in March 2023. Most decent models float around the $20,000 to $25,000 range. A rough one? You might snag it for $8,000. And spend double that fixing the rust Timmy lovingly refers to as patina. Now look, I think this car is kind of like that friend who always overdresses for the wrong occasion. Stunning at brunch, but terrible in a drag race. And I mean that in the nicest way. It's not fast, it's not high-tech, but I'll be darned if it isn't one of the prettiest mistakes ever on four wheels. It's elegant, it's smooth. It's got just enough power to beat your neighbor Bob's riding mower. Unless Bob souped it up with alien tech. But most importantly, it survived the decades. And that, I believe, deserves a round of applause and maybe a gentle push down a hill to help it get started. So if you ever find yourself in a Karmann Ghia, windows down, wind in your hair, and absolutely no urgency to get anywhere fast, just smile. You're in one of the classiest underdogs of all time. And if you enjoyed this ride through history with a side of sarcasm, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell harder than Timmy hitting karaoke night after 2 bottles of Riesling. Cheers, legends. See you in the next episode of Cool Ideas. Stay stylish and stay skeptical if Timmy's driving.